So welcome everybody. I'm glad you are here. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. And today we are looking at two of so many ways to avoid the spam folder. And I'm here with the most excellent Adrian Savage. Hey, Adrian, how are you?
Hello, I'm great, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. All right. So if you're using email in your business, and really who isn't, this is the place to be because we are looking at ways to make sure people get your emails and you avoid the spam folder. And so as promised, we're going to dig into two awesome topics and we have some bonus information for you at the end as well. So if that sounds good, stay with us for the next 20-ish minutes or so. And Adrian, the other day you were just telling me about someone you were working with who was working so hard on their business and they were calling you to say their emails are in the spam folder and you got into authentication with them, as I
Yep.
remember.
Yep, absolutely. The thing with authentication is it's a little bit techy, but the good news is you only have to set it up once. Once you've got it set up, then as long as you don't change your email platform, you can sit back and relax. But authentication is really, really important. Shall I explain a little bit around what it is and how it works quickly, and then kind of a little bit around how people can actually set it up? Okay. Oh, you've gone on mute. Oh, there we
That
go.
sounds good. I'm glad you're going to do that because
Okay, right.
authentication sounds difficult. And like you said, once you set it up once, you're good to go.
Yeah. Now the good news is, even though I'm a geek, I've taken my anti-geek pills, so I'll try and keep it nice and simple. Um, and the thing we'll remember here is email is all about reputation. But you can only protect your reputation if you're proving that the emails that you send have genuinely come from you. Because let's face it, if you're using Keep or ActiveCampaign or any of these other email platforms, you can choose to send an email from whatever email address you want, whether or not you can legitimately do that. You could pretend to send something from whitehouse.gov if you wanted to. But because they have done something with their authentication, those emails might not get through. But what we need to do is we need to tell the world that the emails that we're sending out are legitimately from us and that we have given whatever platform we're using permission to send emails on our behalf. So I'm going to mention two acronyms, and this is the only time I'm going to get into a little bit of technobabble, hopefully. But it's worth making a note of these because this is what you need to go away and make sure that you've got set up. So the first acronym that I'm going to mention is Dkim. It's spelled DKIM, and it stands for Domain Keys Identified Mail. Now what this is a way of digitally signing every single email that you send out. And if you put this digital signature on all the emails that you send out, and then you publish a special key in your domain, then that will allow the mailbox providers that you're sending your mails to, they will be able to compare the public key with the private key in your email and lots of clever stuff like that, and they will be able to say, hey, this email genuinely came from Cindy because she's already set up her authentication. So that is how Dkim works. And what you have to do is every single email platform that you send from, you need to go into it and you need to set up authentication using Dkim. So if you're using Keep or if you're using ActiveCampaign or any other email marketing automation platform, you need to go into that and you need to go into the email settings and find some kind of option that says email authentication, or it might even say Dkim. If you're using ActiveCampaign, be very careful because their default is it says let ActiveCampaign manage my authentication for me. Now that's actually a bit of a lie because they're not managing authentication for you, they're just not managing it at all. So you need to make sure that you switch on the I want to manage my own authentication, and that will then allow you to set up Dkim. If you're using Keep, it's a bit simpler. You just go to the email settings, I think it's marketing settings, and then there's email authentication, and other platforms like MailChimp or whatever, they've got a similar thing. So make sure that whatever platform you're using, you need to go set it up there, and it will give you a very specific string of garbage looking text that you've got to then go and publish inside your domain. If you're not sure how to do that, then get an expert. I'm looking at one on Zoom there. Her name is Cindy. She can help you with that stuff. And make sure that you get it right. if you foul up Dkim, it's not the end of the world, because it's just the same as not having it. In a minute, I'm going to talk about something else where you have to be a bit more careful. But for Dkim, if you get it wrong, it's not the end of the world, because it just means you're not signing your emails still. You can't stop emails going through by messing this up. So have a go yourself. Maybe if you need some help, get in touch with Cindy, and she can help with that as well. And if Cindy needs help, then she can, she knows the other people that can get involved as well if necessary.
You can help too. I think that Adrian, and we're putting your contact information here. If you ever have anything tricky around authentication, just go right to Adrian as well, and I can also connect you with him, because
awesome.
One of the things that you just talked about is ActiveCampaign not really managing the Dkim and authentication. And we had that experience with someone we work with, and they had a list of, I think it was 5,000 or 10,000, and they were emailing people, inviting them to some of their online sessions and webinars. And exactly that, they were having trouble getting some of their emails received by their B2B, by their business companies they were working with. And it all went back to ActiveCampaign saying, no, we got this. And it's like, well, actually, nah. And so we had to go in and work on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think ActiveCampaign should be a little clearer how they label that, because it does kind of lull you into a full sense of security. On the other hand, they're better than ConvertKit, who say you shouldn't set Dkim up unless you've got a list of 10,000 or something, and I respectfully disagree with them. It doesn't matter if your list has only got 50 people on it, or 10 people, or 10 million. Whatever size list you've got, you should set up Dkim, you should set up email authentication. And something a lot of people forget about is they can also set up authentication inside Google Workplace, or G Suite as it was. You can set it up inside Microsoft 365. The platform you use to send your individual emails can also have authentication set up. If you're using some kind of help desk software like Zendesk or Help Scout or something like that, maybe you can do it there as well. So don't only look at your email marketing platform, look at any other platform you use to send emails. So that's Dkim in a nutshell. I'll very quickly cover the other authentication, which is SPF. That's the other acronym, and that stands for Sender Policy Framework. Now, this is the one where you do need to pay attention, because if you mess this one up, you can actually make it more likely that your emails are going to go to spam. So be very careful when you do this one. And with Dkim, you had to set up every single platform individually. With SPF, it's as simple as publishing one record in your domain, but that one record says, I trust these platforms to send email on my behalf. So supposing you're using ActiveCampaign and G Suite and Zendesk, then your SPF record would need to say, I trust ActiveCampaign, G Suite and Zendesk. You mustn't have two SPF records. If you have two, that's as bad as having none. So make sure you only have one, and make sure you list all the different platforms you're using, and you've got to check it very carefully to make sure that it's right, because any mistakes in that, then it might actually mean that your emails are more likely to go to the spam folder. So if you get it right, you're going to do yourself a big favor. Get it wrong and things might go a little bit wrong. So what I would recommend is there's various platforms out there. From memory, I think MX Toolbox can do it, and there's another website called Dmarc, and they've got what's called an Spf Checker. So if you just do a Google search for Spf Checker, and then it will ask you for your domain, you type your domain in, and it will tell you whether your Spf record is set up correctly. Now, it can't read your mind. It won't tell you that you've forgotten to put one of your platforms in there, but at least it can tell you that it is syntactically correct. So it's worth, if you've already got it set up, go to one of these sites and check it. If you haven't got it set up, then fix that and then check that to make sure. And again, Cindy can help with that, I can help with that. But again, SPF matters a lot, particularly if you've got a lot of people using Microsoft as the mailbox provider. So if a lot of your audience uses Hotmail or Outlook.com or Microsoft 365, Microsoft is very hot on SPF. Google, they care a bit less about that. But Microsoft, if your SPF record isn't right, then it's a lot more likely that your emails are going to go to spam. And that's pretty much the two main parts of authentication. There's a third method called Dmarc that if you want to go into the advanced side of things, you can look at that, but that isn't going to make as much of a difference. So I'm not going to go into the detail on that today. The main thing I'd say is if you haven't done anything yet, then focus on Dkim first and foremost, get that done, then get SPF done, make sure everything's okay with that. If you want to go the whole hog, then yeah, look at Dmarc, but that's less. It makes less of an impact. Main thing is to get your signing set up with Dkim and then the authentication with SPF. And that's pretty much it, I think. Have we got any questions around that, Cindy, or anything we need to look at on this before we move on?
Well, hey, I just wanted to mention to you that we will have a checklist and some info at the end here for you that you can take and apply. And so some of the things that Adrian's talking about around Dkim and SPF are in there. And also in the Facebook group, we'll throw some of the links in there, like the MX Toolbox and stuff that are free tools that you can grab. And so we'll provide all of those things to you as well.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
So the second big thing, Adrian, that we were talking about is engagement, which what the heck does that mean? And how can I really apply that in my life?
Okay, so engagement is the holy grail of email deliverability. This is the thing that you need to pay most attention to if you want to maximize your chances of reaching the inbox and avoiding the spam folder. And this is how the world has changed so much, because if you wind the clock back 5 years ago, it was nice and easy. You just built as big a list as you could, and then you just mailed the hell out of them, and you kept mailing them until they either buy, they die, or they unsubscribe. And you know, in kind of 2015, then you could actually run quite a nice business with that. But things have changed over the last 2 or 3 years, maybe even 4 years now. Google set the trend here, and then the other big mailbox providers like Microsoft and Yahoo, they were playing catch up. And where we got to was it's now all about whether you're sending emails to the people that want to receive them or not. So this is the really important thing. What we're saying here is if you're sending emails to people that are no longer reading them, then you're pretty much shooting yourself in the foot, because what Google and Microsoft and Yahoo and the other big mailbox providers want is they want to see that you're sending emails to the people that are actually opening them, reading them, and taking action from them. So what that means is it's no longer a case of having a massive email list. We've reached the time now where small is beautiful. It's very much about quality. It's not about quantity anymore, because we only want to be sending emails to the people that have recently opened something from us. Because the challenge that we've got is that we can't see exactly what people are doing, the same way that we can't see whether the email even makes it into the spam folder. Once Keep or ActiveCampaign or whatever else tells us that email has been accepted for delivery, then it could go anywhere. It's like when the mailman posts the letter through the letterbox. You don't know if there's a dog waiting on the other side to take the letter away and chew it up. And the same is true with email. We can't be certain what's happened. It might go into the spam folder, it might go to promotions, it might go to the junk folder, it might go to the inbox. It could go in so many places, but we don't know. The only way we know that something positive has happened is if someone opens it, and most of the time then that indication that the email was opened will be shown to you, whether you're using Keep, ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, or whatever. So what we need to do is we need to encourage people to engage with us. We need to make sure we're sending out really good content, good quality content. And then if someone signs up to your email list, make sure that you're encouraging them to open your emails right from the get-go. You need to train them to rescue your emails from the spam folder, because that is probably the strongest type of engagement there is. The worst thing that can happen is if someone leaves your email in the spam folder. So you need to train people to actually find them and rescue them. And then once you've got that, then it's all about continuing to send emails to the people that are reading them. If someone hasn't opened a single email from you for 30 days, then that's already demonstrating that they're starting to lose interest. They probably have already. If it reaches 90 days, 3 months, then it's pretty pointless to send emails to people after that point. I would recommend you stop by the 90th day at the very latest. And in some cases now, then it's more like 30 days, and here's why. We've got data from Microsoft now that they treat a contact as unengaged within 15 days. So that's only just over 2 weeks. So if you're sending emails to people using Hotmail or Microsoft 365, and you're sending emails 3 months after they last opened something, Microsoft are going to see you as one of the bad guys because you're sending emails to people that haven't engaged for ages. So that's why this 30-day figure is so important, and 90 days really, really is the cutoff. And you need to make sure you're using, you can either do it manually in the platforms, or you can use the tools that I've created to help you to identify which contacts have engaged with you most recently and focus on sending to those. Because here's the thing, if you only focus on the engaged contacts, your open rate is going to go up. Statistically speaking, the people with the greatest chance of opening your email are the ones that have opened something recently. So if you mail to your entire list, you might be getting a 10 or 15% open rate. If you've got a really good list, you might do better than that. But working with the clients that I have over the years, what I've typically seen is if you start to dial things back so you're only managing the people that have opened in the last 90 days, you should be getting a 30% or higher open rate. If you dial that back further and only mail the people that have opened in the last 30 days, you should be getting a 40% or higher open rate. Now, if you email every single day, you might find those rates go a little bit lower. And I'm a big fan of mailing as often as possible, as long as it's high quality content only to the people that are reading your emails. Because if you do that, then you've got a much greater chance of that 40% open rate. It'll be a different 40% every time. And what I found when I sent emails for an entire month every single day, by the end of that month, 75% of my list had read at least one of my emails. So it really is worth sending as frequently as you can. Once a month is no longer going to cut it. You need to be mailing at least weekly. And anyone who says you've got nothing to say, there's always something you can share. That just means you've got to tell 50 little stories, one per week, and everyone's got a story in them somewhere. So get the content out there, and then make sure that you're only sending it to the right people. But here's why it matters so much. If Google sees your open rate go from 20% to 40%, they're going to start to think that you're sending out better content than you were. It's as simple as that. And the higher they see that open rate, the more they're going to like you, assuming you've got your authentication set up, the more your reputation will improve. And the better your reputation, the more likely the next emails you send are going to land in the inbox rather than the spam folder. So it becomes what I call a virtuous circle. The better you manage your engagement, the better the chances the next emails are going to hit the inbox. And imagine if you're spending $5,000 a month on Facebook ads. If you're not managing your engagement and you've got a poor reputation, you might only be hitting 40% of those people who are clicking through on your ads and signing up. If you've got everything set up properly, then you can achieve 80% engagement from new contacts signing up to your list, which means you can actually double the return on investment on your ad spend just by getting all of this buttoned up. So it really, really matters that you manage your engagement as well as possible. And the most common objection I hear is, what about that person from 9 months ago who suddenly re-engages and buys something? If I stop mailing after 90 days, I'm going to miss those people.
That's
and
right.
That's a fair comment.
That's a fair comment. Because in this group, we have lots of people who have long buying cycles. I know just about everybody on here. I can see who everybody is. And there's people here who will tell us,
absolutely.
Hey, we've got people who take 2 years and 3 years to buy.
Yes.
What should we do? I know what I think, but what do you think about that?
Okay. So here's the thing. If they're still interested, they will still open an email once every 2 or 3 months. They must do, because otherwise, the nice thing about sending lots of emails is that you will turn off the people that don't like you. And I guess there's always, being honest, there's going to be the occasional person that wants to buy your stuff that doesn't like your emails, but you can't please everybody all the time. But on the whole, then I would just make sure you're still sending that content out, because you need to keep people warm. Because let's face it, we've all got competitors, and if you stop sending the emails out and someone else keeps mailing them, then guess what? They're more likely to go to them.
That's true.
Why we need to keep mailing them. But then the other side of it as well then is I've run the numbers. We already said that you're going to get a 40% open rate if you mail to those people who've engaged in the last month, and that's going to drop to about 30% if you mail to the 90-day people. If you only mail to the people who engaged between 30 and 90 days ago, it's probably a 10% open rate. If you only mail to the people that have engaged 90 days or longer, it's a 3 or a 4 or maybe a 5% open rate. And if you send out a bunch of emails where effectively it's that open rate, then you're probably 10% less likely to hit the inbox for your engaged people. So by continuing to mail all these people that haven't engaged for months and months and months, then a couple of those might wake up, smell the coffee and buy something. But you're likely to be losing the warm leads that you've got that have been opening your mails all the time, because statistically you're going to be more likely to hit the spam folder. So that's why it's so important. It doesn't mean that you should never mail those people, but maybe once in a blue moon you maybe give them another chance to wake up and re-engage with you. But statistically, if someone reaches 90 days and they haven't opened anything, you've probably lost them. So that's the time, if you know them, get on the phone and send them a text message, direct mail, maybe a last chance email saying, hey, do you still want to hear from me? Click here, or if not, I'm going to unsubscribe you. But that's about as far as it goes. And if you do all of those things, I can promise you that your email performance will be transformed.
And I think one of the huge takeaways here, Adrian, is that obviously we have a lot of folks who are into math and engineers right here on the call, and they're saying, well, of course, if I email fewer people, my open rate goes up. Well, yes,
Yep,
of course. But
absolutely.
why that matters is the big three email providers look at the percentage and make decisions
Yes.
based on that
Exactly.
percentage.
It's this virtuous circle. And I'll be honest,
That
we are gaming the system here. We are artificially increasing our open rates. There will be no more people opening on day one. But if we keep that open rate high, our reputation goes through the roof, and then our future emails are more likely to hit the inbox, and the future emails we send are more likely to reach more people. So it's one of these where effectively, yes, we're gaming the system right now, but long term, the real number of people will also see more. But it is a leap of faith. You do have to change the way you think about this stuff. And if you don't believe me, run some tests. Break your email into 3 lists: 0 to 30-day engagement, 30 to 90, 90 plus, and send the same email to each of those groups, see what the open rate is, and I can guarantee that that 90 plus group of people is going to be a minuscule open rate unless there's something really crazy. And if you get more than 10% to that group, please get in touch because I'd love to know what's going.
that's so
But on
good.
the whole, then that's this is the reason that is you're sending to all those people that aren't opening. That's what's hurting you.
So, Adrian, we do have quite a few questions. And if I can just ask everybody, can I take 1 minute and share something with you? And then we'll come back to Q&A. And so for my 1 minute, I just want to share with you that the tool that Adrian and I both use primarily for email marketing and marketing automation is Keep. And Keep is great because you owe it to yourself not to keep using an Excel sheet and sticky notes and doing all your business email just in whatever email client you have. My friend Frank said I love this. He said, it's the cheapest employee I ever had. And Keep, they're so awesome. They gave me a deal. And so I want to share it with you guys. And Fallon's going to put the link in the chat. And so for $50, you can get in and check it out and try it. And you would get our top 5 campaigns that Fallon and I use with clients every day, and an hour setup time with us just to check it out. So you owe it to yourself and your business to do that. And I just wanted to share that with you and pass that kind of cool offer along. And Keep even gave us a special little URL. I think it's like bykeep.com Cindy Z, and Fallon's got it in the chat for you. So we can wrap on that and come back to the QA if that's okay.
Can I just add a little public service announcement in beyond that as well, Cindy? One of the
Please.
reasons, because I've worked with a lot of email platforms over the years, and one of the reasons that I still recommend Keep wherever I can is because they have one of the most advanced ways of handling email deliverability, because this is something that Keep do that's I'm not aware of any other platform that does it to this level now, is they actually automatically send the emails from different servers depending on how recently the client
Yes,
engaged.
I
Which
love
means
that.
that if you're managing your engagement properly, all the emails you send out will come from Keep's best servers with the best chance of hitting the inbox. The reason that I'm not as keen on Active Campaign is they send all the emails out from one server and there's no distinction. So it means you have to work a lot harder, and you're in a shared boat with other people that aren't necessarily managing things as well as you are. But the way that Keep works, they really reward you for managing your engagement in a way that no one else that I'm aware of yet does. So that's a very good reason to use Keep, because they have an extremely sophisticated way of maximizing the chances that you're going to get into the inbox. So as well as there's all the things that you can do, but there are still things that the email platform has to do as well. And I just want to shout that out and recognize that because it makes a big difference.
Well said. Well said. Thank you, Adrian. All right, let's go to questions. We have quite a few. So, oh my gosh, one of them got a question. Is there any reason to do both Dkim and SPF?
Yes, always do both. Simple as that. Start with Dkim, but as soon as you got that sorted, move straight on to SPF, because they both help in different ways. And if you only do one of those, you're only doing half the job.
Okay, another question is, I don't know the first thing about SPF and Dkim. We use G Suite at work. My tech team set it up, and now I have to manage everything. Not sure where to start. So maybe maybe you've already answered that, but I'm just reading through the question.
Yeah, I mean, if you can, then just ask for help. That's the quickest way to do it. If not, there are step-by-step guides. I think Keep have got a guide of how to set it up. I think Active Campaign have got something similar. So you can go out there and find it. If you want to get it fixed quickly, then if you're a client of Cindy's, definitely go to Cindy. If you're not a client of Cindy's, then go to Cindy, or we can help as well.
Yeah, Adrian's the bomb for sure. And actually, Devin, who's on here as well, knows everything about it. Hey, Devin. All right, I get a good open rate of 20% and click rate is slightly less, but then I don't hear from them. What do I do? Should I ring them? Great question.
Great question. So first off, I'm willing to bet you can improve that open rate. It depends on, if you're not managing your engagement already, then that's the starting point. If you're not hearing from them, then I guess it depends. Is that because they're not reading the email, or is it because there's just something that's not quite right for them? So I would say, firstly, make sure you're managing your engagement and see if you can get that open rate up. But if you've got their phone numbers, then yeah, if they're a hot lead, I mean, I wouldn't waste time on ringing every single person on your list. But if you've qualified someone sufficiently, if they've engaged with enough emails, they've opened enough, clicked through or whatever, then absolutely the chances of making any kind of sale are so many times greater by telephone than email. Email is great for getting that introduction out there, but it's never going to be the way to make the most number of sales. I mean, if you're selling a $7 thing, then yeah, do that by email every day. But if it's hundreds or thousands of dollars, then you need to have a conversation quite likely. So email is a great way of gauging their interest, particularly if you're putting particular things for them to click on. And if they're clicking a link to find out more, that shows they're interested. And then you can get your platform to tell you, hey, this person clicked on this link. And then if you've got their phone number, ring them up. There's that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because with all the clients we work with, I mean, the way I imagine this is that email is running in parallel with the things we do to serve our clients and sell and be in touch and build our know, like, and trust. So email's running, and in parallel, I'm still trying to be everywhere to them. I'm at a trade show. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm doing this thing right now with you, like whatever the thing is. And so I wake up in the morning and fire up my CRM. I look at Keep and I see who's engaged, so I can see who's opened or clicked or whatever, and then decide, okay, who do we want to ping and just follow up with and check. And we look on our team, we work as a team to do that. And everybody can do that. Even if you just take 10 minutes out of your day to do that, you can cherry pick the people who you want to, I'm going to reach out to these 3 people or these 30 people today. So I think it has to work in parallel with all the other marketing things and sales things that we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, even though I love email, it is not the only game in town. It will get you so far, and you can do loads with it. But you've got to make sure you're covering all the bases. Simple.
Nice. Well said. We do have a few more questions, and we're going to do our best to reach everybody and get to all the questions. I know we're going a little over, but I'm glad we have tons of questions.
Yeah,
so feel free to stay with us for a few more minutes while we go through. And if we miss your question, we will circle back to you.
Yeah. Is it Des next?
When a user gives explicit permission from an external form, say a Gravity form, why do we have to go through a confirmation again? I suppose that depends on the email platform. A lot of contacts don't check their email to confirm. So what's a workaround? Yeah, okay. Great question.
So I guess that depends on how you've got Gravity Forms connected up, because I mean I'm going to speak most to Keep and Active Campaign users here, because if it's a different platform, then let me know. But the way that the majority of email platforms work now, they don't make that much of a differentiation between whether one of their own web forms was filled out or whether Gravity Forms or whatever was connected up externally. And in theory, it shouldn't be a confirmation. It might, if it's a different platform, then they might be set up differently. I know that back in the bad old days, Aweber was a perfect example of a platform where you had to jump through 27 hoops if you didn't have to send out another confirmation email. And it can be a problem because people don't always click on these confirmation emails. But in most cases, you should be able to actually set it up so that you don't have to do that. I know with Active Campaign, as an example, you can go into the list settings and you can turn off email confirmation. With Keep, then unless you've actually set up email confirmation, then it doesn't happen. So what I would say is that just make sure that you've got whatever settings you can set up so that it doesn't have that confirmation. if the contacts aren't checking their email to confirm, then you've got a problem anyway. So what I'd say is, on whatever acknowledgement page you've got inside Gravity Forms, they're going to have to click a button to say submit or give me my stuff or whatever. So on that next bit of information they see, the thank you page or whatever, this is going back to what I said earlier. It's about training people to go and find that email from you straight away. It might be in the spam, so rescue it, but they've got to learn to click on that email. You've got to train them. If they haven't realized that, maybe you're not being clear enough in the instructions on that form saying, hey, you've just submitted this, go and find this email now and click the link. So that's the other workaround. That's all I can really offer on that.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And so here's a tricky one. And working with B2B, I work with this as well. Some people have corporate domains and emails are supposedly being delivered, but there's an issue with the corporate email filters blocking the emails. And I hear about this one because, again, there's 3 big email providers, and Microsoft is the one that I always get to play with on this.
Microsoft is a nightmare, but there is a much more greater evil in play here, and that is these corporate email providers. So it could be banking, financial services, all kinds of corporate places. Their IT department will purchase some kind of third-party spam filter. It could be Barracuda, Dmarc, Proofpoint, Symantec. There's lots of them out there, and they all hate marketing platforms. This isn't just, it's not unique to Keep or ActiveCampaign or MailChimp. They pretty much block marketing emails from all of the providers. Unfortunately, this is not the fault of your marketing automation platform. This is the fault of some very paranoid, power-hungry IT administrators that work at all these corporates. And the difficult answer is there is no easy way to work around this. If it's a big client where there's lots of people that you're trying to reach, then you might have to go and have a conversation with their IT manager and say, hey, can you put a rule in place to allow emails from ActiveCampaign or Keep or MailChimp or whatever? And they might say no because they don't want to let it all through. They might only want to let yours through. And there's normally a way of doing it, but it depends on how helpful they are or not. Now, if this is something that is really, really crucial, then if you're using Keep, then I have got a software solution called We Deliver that can kind of reroute the emails via a third party that might not be blocked. But I don't go and sell this to people because it takes a bit of setting up, it's extra money, and it's extra complexity. But if it solves your problem and it generates enough dollars in return, it might be worth it. But more often than not, you'll find that the number of people affected is small enough that it's not worth it. But if you're working with corporates and that's 80% of your list and you're just not getting anything through, then unfortunately you might have to look at either something like that or having lots of conversations with people, because it is a nightmare. I've worked with so many people where it is just it's down to the paranoia of IT managers who don't understand that actually marketing emails have a purpose. It's like the receptionist in the doctor's office. They always want to protect the doctor from all the patients, and the IT managers are like this. They're trying to protect all their co-workers from marketing emails, but sometimes they need to get through. So it's a tough one, but people wrongly blame the email marketing provider. It's not their fault, unfortunately. It just becomes very difficult.
And I want to say on that one, if you've got a specific issue, feel free to reach out to Adrian directly on that, because you can get in a conversation with him. So his info's here on the chat, and I would recommend that. I will say that one B2B client that we were working with, we still work with them, had this issue heavily. And yes, we had some issues, and yes, we deliver. I will say that when we started looking at the content in the emails and engagement, things that I learned from Adrian, like the placement of the text needs to be to the left, not in the center, and changing wording. We didn't even plan to get into this on this session. Like maybe we'll have another session on the content, but changing the wording from, we used to always put click here to sign up. Now we say, join us or reserve your spot, and change the wording completely. Change the game with this client, and we've seen an increase in getting into the inbox and engagement and stuff like that. So we really work on the content to help the engagement.
Yeah, very much so. And just quickly circling back to Lisa's question about Gravity Forms, she said it was Keep, so in theory it should be possible to make it so no confirmation is needed.
Yeah.
That's something that, Cindy, you can help with that, or I can if necessary as well. So I just wanted to circle back to that comment.
Absolutely. Now, Adrian, you've got a checklist. Can you give us the URL for that? Or maybe Fallon, you already put it in the chat.
Yeah,
You've got a slide, I think, also with the information on it. Adrian, do you want to put that up for everybody?
Can I just answer one final question? Because Des actually answered a really cool question that I've just spotted.
Yes.
And Des asked, and this is dear to my heart at the moment, how do the platforms discern between the recipient opening the email and their corporate security scanner opening it for verification? Now, this is a real hot potato at the moment because the world is starting to get a bit more paranoid. And I am seeing this a lot. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, imagine you're sending an email to one of these corporates and they've got something like Barracuda there. Now, the way that email opens are tracked is they put a little hidden image in the email. And the way that clicks are tracked is because they actually rewrite the links. So instead of going straight to where you're sending them, they're going via your email platform. So if you're sending an email from Keep, all the links get changed to something.keeplinks.com. Now, the problem is some of the anti-spam filters are now starting to scan those, and they're starting to follow the links and open the images. So it looks like the person has opened the email and clicked on every link in the email, even though they haven't. And it is difficult. Now, I know I've spoken to the guys at Keep about this a lot because it is a big problem, and they're putting as much artificial intelligence as they can into this to try and detect it, because obviously in theory it's going to be within a few seconds that email has been sent and everything's going to trigger all at the same time. And I've noticed that they are actually kind of discounting some of these false positives, but they haven't got it quite right yet. Because sometimes I know there's some people on my list where it looks like they have opened every email and clicked on every link still, so they're not catching it quite. And sometimes I have to go in and use a little bit of good old brain power to work out that actually maybe this one isn't a genuine click and things like that. So if you spot cases where it's happening a lot, I'd say raise a support ticket with your email platform, because they probably need the feedback. They need to get better at it, and they're quite keen to. But unfortunately, it is a bit of a necessary evil. And we, again, you can have a conversation with the recipient's IT manager and say, hey, stop doing this, you don't need to, but they're probably going to go and do it anyway, unfortunately. The good news is it's still a fraction of your email list in most cases, but again, if you've got 80% like Shane has of corporates, then you're going to find that it's going to be happening quite a lot, so it does become a little bit of a problem in those cases. And the only way around that may be to just find if there's a slightly more clever way of tracking those links and maybe checking. I mean, getting into the geek side for a minute, you can probably look at what the user agent is on the actual link when something follows it, and if it came from Chrome, then obviously it's genuine. If it came from some kind of spider robot, then you want to discard it. So there's ways of having a go at beating it, but it's a bit of a tough one. But I think we'll call it quits there, because otherwise we could talk about this stuff forever, and I know people need to get off. So let's talk about the checklist.
Yes, the checklist. This is free, you guys. This is awesome.
So have you shared the link already? Yeah, I think it's in. I can see it in the Facebook, and see it on Zoom here. So this is something that I wrote last year after I spoke at the Icon conference, because people were asking me, what you've shared is great, but I can't remember half of what you said. So that inspired me to put the most important things into the checklist that you can see the link there to. Totally free, no opt-in needed. You can just click that, download it, and then digest it at your leisure. One step at a time. Remember, there's a lot of stuff here, and your head might be going boom right now, and you go into overwhelm. But just remember, there's only one way to eat an elephant, and that's one bite at a time. So just pick off one thing at a time. Don't try and do it all in one go, because you'll go crazy. Because the thing is, even if someone takes my health check on Deliverability dashboard and gets 100%, and there's a few people doing that now, even then there's still things that you can do better. So focus on the biggest thing you can do quickly. Pick that low-hanging fruit. Once you've nailed that, move on to the next, move on to the next. There's always something you can be doing. That's the bottom line.
Nice. And do you want to show your slide or not so much?
Yeah, let's quickly share that.
I thought it was great.
There we go. This one here.
To the B2B questions that people had here, I noticed I have some people who sign up when they're working in a corporation like that. They're signing up with their personal email. And it used to be a thought, like, if you see a personal email, that was your slide, that's good.
It went funny there. Let's try again.
If it used to be for B2B that if someone saw a Gmail or something like that, they didn't think it was legit. But I've always really been in the sort of camp of if someone puts their personal email in, it might be because they really want your email and their corporate stuff is blocking it. And so I never discount those. I
No,
feel like those could be that person
absolutely.
who works in a place that knows what the deal is and they care and want to interact. So I do see that quite a bit. I want to
Yeah,
share
that's
that.
that's a very good point because I see that sometimes I look at someone's list and it's like it might be 20% corporate, but then there's a whole lot of Gmail and Hotmail in there, and that is it's people that don't trust the emails to land in their work address, so
Yeah.
they use their personal one because they want it that much. So don't ever be suspicious of individual email addresses because it might just be that they just really care. As long as the rule of thumb is very simple. As long as people are opening the emails, keep sending them to them. If they're not opening them, that's when you don't send them. Simple as. And then, so very quickly, we've got the checklist there. You don't need to go to that address for the checklist. Go use the link that's in the chat or the Zoom right now. But if you use any of the platforms shown on the right hand side of that slide, then you can go and take the email health check for free. That will look at what you're doing right now, and it'll tell you whether you're one of the good guys or the not so good guys. And if you get a low score, don't worry, because it means you can make things even better, and it will show you how to do that. So it's always a good starting point. I think that's probably all we need to talk about, really.
That is perfect. Thank
Let's
you.
stop
Thank you.
see everyone again then.
All right, Adrian, thank you for being here. Everybody, thank you for your questions. Glad to see you. And here's to your email and your business and making sure you're crushing it. And today we looked at authentication and engagement. And if this is a topic you like and you kind of want to get into the content or some other elements of avoiding the spam folder, let us know. And thank you, Adrian.
Pleasure. Thanks again.
All right. Bye, everybody.